Hello and welcome to my screencast, which is going to show you through how to set up a website registration and survey on the warehouse. This is kind of one of the first things you're going to have to do with the warehouse. So let's get cracking. So we've already installed a warehouse. I've done nothing else to it. This is as you would have if you'd followed the screencast on warehouse installation. Just give you a quick introduction to what you've got in front of you. Obviously we're looking at the home page and there's a menu across the top here. The main bits of data are going to be either under lookup lists, which gives you kind of the drop-down lists and things like that that people are likely to fill in during data entry, and also under entered data you've got things like the occurrences and samples that are created during data entry. What we're primarily interested in at the moment is under the admin menu, where things that are more administrative sit. So there's a list of registered websites. When you initially install a warehouse, there's just one called demonstration website. You can actually just delete that one if you don't want it. I'll create a new website registration for my own website because I'm going to install an Indicia site on my local machine. So let's call it my local recording site, and we can give it a URL including the HTTP prefix. Because I'm installing on my local development machine, it's going to go under a local host URL, and I'm going to create a full folder called instant because we're going to use instant Indicia. Obviously this would be the URL of your site, test site. When you create a website registration, you need to give it a password, and this is the password that's going to be used by your website to connect to the warehouse. It's quite important that if this is a live setup, that's a secure password. But because I'm an absent-minded developer, I'm just going to use the word password here. And we'll save the website registration. Now, I'm logged in as administrator because I just installed the fresh warehouse. But really, before we go on, it's a good idea to create a user account. So if I set myself up as a user, so you can go to the users list. Now, before you create a user, you actually have to create a person. So let's create a person. And for this person to be a user, they have to have an email address in here. So John at example.com will be fine for the moment. I don't need to give any other information. Now, I exist in the list of people. I have to configure what I can do as a user. So as a user called John_Van_Bredar, I can make that a bit simpler if I like. The password I'm going to change to just password so I don't forget again. And I'm going to give myself administrator rights over the new website that I just registered, local recording site. I'm going to save that, and now I can log out, and rather than using the administrator account, which obviously can access anything on the warehouse and therefore do more damage, I'm going to log in as my new user, which means I shouldn't be able to do any damage to other things that are running on the warehouse. Okay, so we have a website ready and registered, and we've created ourselves an account for administering just that part of that registration of the website on the warehouse. We also need to create a survey in which we can put records, because you can't just record records on Indicia until you've got somewhere to put them. So if we go to the lookup lists, there's a list of surveys which is initially empty, but depending on the warehouse you're using, it may already be populated. We create a new survey called My Garden Records, and I'm going to associate that with the local recording site that I've created. Now we're almost ready to record our first record using Indicia, apart from the fact that we don't have any list of species. So Indicia is not something which dictates to you the species lists that you can record against, although the warehouses provided by the BRC, for example, do include ready-made lists of the British species list, for example. But with a blank install of a warehouse like this, you actually don't have any species loaded into it until you set something up. Before we actually can create a species to record against, we actually need to create a taxon groups or a species group, because all species have to exist in a species group for reporting purposes. I'm going to put one in called damselflies just for my own. If I could spell, that would be better. And I just need to press save, and that's now created. Now I'm going to create myself a species list to record against, and my garden species. Make that nice and clear what I'm trying to do. And you see here this species list is owned by my site. So in Indicia it's possible to actually create species lists that are owned either by the entire warehouse and therefore available for use by anybody, or ones that are only available for use by your own website. And that's what I'm doing here, because this is just a kind of ad hoc, fairly random species list. I don't want to publish that to other people for their use. So having saved that, I can go back in and edit it and look at the list of taxa on the second tab. It's a fairly simple process to upload a CSV file of species. We'll cover that elsewhere, but for the moment I'm just going to type in a taxon banded demoiselle, and we're entering that in English, and it goes in the damselflies group. Okay, the other bits of information on there can all be fairly useful, but not necessary for this very quick demonstration. Okay, so now we have created a species list with the species in it. We've created a website registration. We've created a survey. So as far as configuring our warehouse is concerned, we're actually ready to go. Okay, that's the end of this screencast.